Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the MPC Markets Morning Call, 25th of February 2026. The software and tech rout finally took a breather overnight. Albeit that investors who have either owned them for the last 12 months or have started buying in would be very, bloody, battered and bruised. However, it finally took a breather. So, sort of going to take the win. Maybe this is the turning point. Who knows? So really overnight we had AMD led the market higher overall, and we just saw really just a general recovery in this very important sort of section of the market map, which is where all the pain's been felt. So we've had some pretty decent bounces back there. Increasingly I'm seeing a lot more serious analysts, not just like pained investors, but like serious analysts and serious research coming out calling bullshit on the Anthropic thing, and in many ways, shapes and forms. Apparently even the research paper that was around cybersecurity wasn't even a research paper. It was just a PDF that you could get from a form. And then this research paper was rumoured to spread like wildfire. So, but people do irrational things when they're panicking, and we really are, like, you really want to be looking at, like I said, we've got if you go to our AI threat heat map and have a look. We've not only just got which companies we think are going to have moats, etc. We've also got in there tactics to how to buy the dip and not get caught. Not just get caught buying and then holding the bag and seeing it go lower and lower, which I'm sure has happened to a lot of people. So yeah, you can go to mpcmarkets.com.au AI-threats-2-SaaS. But look, this dragged the tech sector back up, which is good, obviously very good for the market overall, for the S&P and the Nasdaq. Strangely enough, no one's talking about the Dow anymore, because the companies that they're interested in are heading back higher. China had an off day yesterday. We were largely flat and we recovered in the afternoon. We'll have a record high, I would imagine, today. I think the SPYs closed the night session at a record high, around 44. We're still neutral in these in the daily indicators, and look, that's sort of on the weekly. Just having a buy, not a strong buy, is not great for the Nasdaq overall. So it'd still be a little bit wary. However, we'll just sort of see how things sort of pan out overall. One thing to be really mindful of, the rumours getting stronger and stronger about a new DeepSeek model coming out in the next week. No one's necessarily going to know whether whether that's going to be, whether we're going to have another DeepSeek moment. But one thing I do know is that financial markets news outlets love stupid names like SaaSpocalypse and DeepSeek moment, etc. So the sentiment is really negative on the broader sector about it, and it's a great headline, and someone comes up with something dumb and catchy like that, we're probably in for a bit more of a downward pressure in a lot of these software things. It'll just depend on how the market generally takes it, because these everyone seems to be ignoring the moat, and then these claims get bundled up as verified, which they're not. Like very little of Anthropic stuff's been verified on the agentic side. That's their worst hit rate of any of their verified claims of what their software can do. So yeah, but even to take Anthropic side as well, there's been a lot of misunderstanding about what their actual offer is. So the one that was saying cybersecurity, well, it wasn't actually a cybersecurity software. It was more of a self-auditing agent, basically to check where your vulnerabilities are, So then you wouldn't have to spend as high a grade on your cybersecurity software or something, around those lines. So there's a lot of confusion, a lot of crap. Just be really careful who you're following online out there, because there's a lot of emotion in it as well. So either way, the short is having a pretty good time of it. Gold and silver drifted back off. So did crude. Copper kept rallying. And that's more a bit of stability. Lithium and uranium as well started to rally. I think what people are starting to catch on to is the fact that whether Anthropic kills software or not, we're going to need more compute, and we're going to need more we're going to need more chips. We're going to need more everything, because we use four different models here across the board at MPC Markets, and because we use it quite often, we strongly believe that they have their strengths and weaknesses. And however you dice it up, like the latest versions of Grok and Sonnet, which are the top of the line reasoning, you burn through those tokens and credits damn fast. So, which, again, like I said, you're going to need more compute, more memory, more. So I think people are starting to cotton on that it's not going to stop this data center build out. Any progress in agentic AI is just going to be more. And we are as a race and as a species, we don't this whole, it's going to take if demand increases, the productivity gains are just productivity gains, and we always tend to like I said, as a species, we almost applied Moore's law. We consume, and we're voracious consumers, and we will consume more and more and more. So when you go back and look at the historical examples, like IBM saying that, they expected there to be 1,500 PCs in the world in 1979. Like, what a dumb comment in hindsight. So, we apply a little bit of common sense reasoning to this situation as well, albeit, different, but probably rhyming. WiseTech and Fortescue and Woolies Flight Centre today. So I've got Fortescue for you. We didn't have WiseTech, came out a little bit late, but I've got the headlines. So Fortescue killing it, beat. Except for iron ore shipments, which were in line. They were record iron ore shipments. Don't get me wrong. And they've got the lowest operating cost in the industry, albeit that's a lower grade. So, look, this is all against analysts. So everyone seems to be pretty dour on Fortescue quite often from the analyst perspective. No one seems to like it too much. But, look, I mean, if you look at obviously everyone's focused on copper, but if you look at where BHP is and you look at where, Rio are compared to where Fortescue is, it's lagging heavily. It's just obviously we would need confirmation of that Chinese demand to come through, and some economic activity, which, my opinion, I feel like there's green shoots as it stands at the minute. WiseTech Global and Woolworths. So WiseTech's going to cut 2,000 of its 7,000 employees over the next 2 years as it accelerates its shift toward AI-driven products. Biggest reductions in product development and customer service teams, including the recently acquired E2 Open. CEO, Zubin Apo, or Richard White, said AI transformed the software development industry, enabling faster innovation, greater efficiency, and the move came alongside the interim results showing a 76% jump in revenue to $672 million. And through net profit fell 36% to 68 million, with underlying profit up 2% to 114 million overall. Don't have beats and misses, etc. on that one. Look, it does. WiseTech does factor very highly in our AI threat map, which you can go through. We are going to do a revision of this week. We've had requests from people, they want, wondering why we don't have certain companies on there or whatever. We've just, we've started this, and we're going to treat it as a bit of a living document. But go through, it's interactive. You can't see the interactive here, but when you hover over these things, it'll give you reasons why. We're going to start adding things from the medical industry, some of the big losers as well, specifically probably by the end of this week, hopefully in the next day or so. But you can, and we'll have the updated heat map done as soon as we possibly can. Thanks for feedback, everyone. If you want to give any suggestions around this, just obviously comment in the socials, and or let us know, and we will endeavour to try and get some stuff in there. But there's some we haven't included, particularly in the Australian market, like 360, Appen, because I thought that they would be, wouldn't necessarily be winners, and we've really gone looking for the winners first. Pro Medicus, because it was just the medical industry is a little bit more complex. REA and Car, because they're more websites than software. So look, we're just, like Palantir as well is another one that we're a little bit, we wanted to do a bit of a deep dive on. So really, we just didn't want to put anything up there that we weren't 100% confident on. And it is a little bit challenging producing this. Whilst Claude was generous enough to produce the HTML code for this map, it's very hard to ask AI opinions on AI because it took me a long while to get it to not source its own Kool-Aid or its own information, and we're finding the models are getting a lot worse. So it's been back to the good old days of doing some, rolling the sleeves up and doing some old-fashioned research and making sure that we've got, our base data set correct, so we're not influenced by these hallucination loops and these error loops that are becoming more and more prevalent in markets overall. Look, Mosaic, available desktop, App Store, Google Play, and scan the QR code. You'll get your first month free with 4 recommendation services. You'll obviously get some of these really time-sensitive strategies and recommendations, before the rest of the world, and some of our exclusive content. My Livewire article's has gone very well, and things like that. You'll be ahead of the game, all for less than a coffee a day. So scan the QR code, sign up to Mosaic, and we're going to have a software survivors enhanced growth strategy sometime in the next week, where we which is in the structured investments range, where we will have a few pairs of growth software, software growth stocks we believe will survive the SaaSpocalypse. And these things are leveraged. It's capital protected, and somewhere around the 5 times notional leverage, using some options in the enhanced growth range of the structured products that we do so well with our thematic investments, and we'll be having a webinar on it sometime in the second week of March. Have a great day, everyone. Enjoy the record highs in the ASX, and we will speak again tomorrow. General advice warning. The content presented in this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and provides general advice only. It does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or specific needs. This information should not be the sole resource when making investment decisions. We strongly recommend you seek the advice of a financial professional.